Good morning, lovely ladies. So, we're going to be working with our triggers today. So, I asked you guys to write out that list of emotional triggers and things that ignite something in you, that shift your mood immediately from I makes you okay and I'm suddenly mad. That moment when something shifts internally. I sent you that video about those triggers with the couples. And I said to you that it's not only with couples, it's with every trigger. So today's video and this video that I'm making now, there's just a couple of things that I really want to explain properly so that you can truly get this. Because this is the one thing that I find people fighting the hardest against on the training. So it's almost like a law, like that this is exactly the reason that you're being triggered. And there's no exceptions. So I'm a little bit apprehensive to tell it to you all at once because sometimes what happens is one goes, oh my goodness, and I blamed this one and I made it about that one and it wasn't them, it was all me. And then it goes back to self-blame and self-loathing. I don't want you to do that. I want you to know that you haven't known any difference. You've done the best you can and you're completely normal. Everyone does it. So no beating yourself up, no self-loathing, no self-criticism. Deal. Okay. In that moment that you're being triggered, the only reason you're being triggered is because of something that you're believing that isn't true. Okay? So we have a very specific idea in our minds of how certain things should be and of how certain people should be and how people should speak and how people should act and how people should show up and how life should be. And we have a very specific set of rules and expectation in our minds. And when it doesn't happen like that, we get triggered because we're trying to control it and it's not for us to control. So I'm going to introduce you to an amazing lady. Her name is called Byron Katie. She wrote a book called Loving What Is. And she speaks about there are 3 types of business. 1, your business. 2, other people's business. And 3 is God's business. So God's business is earthquakes, tornadoes, COVID-19, death. That's God's business. Other people's business is anything that is out of your control and is not yours. So anything like how somebody speaks, how somebody shows up, if somebody else is late, if somebody doesn't reply to a message. Anything that is not in your control but has actually got to do with other people. And then obviously your business. And she says the only thing worth spending time on is your own business. Why? Because you can't control anything else. She's got a quote that says, when you fight reality, you will lose 100% of the time. So that moment when you have the trigger, the first thing that's going to go through your head is you're going to say to yourself, that shouldn't have happened. And then I want you to shift it and say to yourself, that should have happened. Why? Because it did. So you're actually just learning to do some truth telling. You are accepting reality as it is. And when you live in a space of accepting things as they are because you can't change them, it's the most liberating, freeing, empowering feeling in the whole entire world. So if I can explain to you from my own personal point of view and how I've raised my children, because I did this multi-life weekend so many years ago, my kids know that if they're triggered, they need to go and do the work on themselves. And if I'm triggered, I go and I do the same work on myself. So my 13-year-old really gets it because he's been doing it for 10 years or even longer. And he'll say to me, Mom, I've been triggered. And he'll leave the room and he'll do whatever he does and he comes back. And I'm going to tell you what he does in a minute. Or he'll say, Mom, why does that trigger you so much? But that is such a different space to, I shouldn't have said that because now my mom is angry. No, I earn my triggers because actually all that's happening is it's bringing up something inside of you that hasn't been healed, and your triggers are your biggest gifts. So when you start to see your triggers as your biggest gifts, you can start to work with them. Okay, so this is just the beginning of this. Normally what happens is as you get triggered, you go back into your regressed self, like it said in the video, and you go back to the age of before 7, where you felt unheard or unloved or unappreciated or ignored or disrespected. So you felt disrespected when you were very little, you never dealt with it, and now it's coming up again because it's still inside of you. So how I deal with my triggers is exactly like this. Okay, so what I do is I notice that I've been triggered, and in that moment I stop. And it's generally around my children and when they're upset about something. So I've been triggered and I stop. Even if I'm rushing out the door, I know that I have to stop, because you dealing with your trigger and going in and quickly doing this process that I'm just about to teach you is far more effective. You're still going to be at work on time, and you're going to have a lovely trip to get there or to school on time, as opposed to going into autopilot and saying I'm going to deal with my trigger later. This is called self-mastery. It's self-mastery, it's mastery of self, and it's continuously looking in and not looking out. You're going to eradicate the words, you made me angry, and you're going to say, I'm angry. So when your child triggers you, or your spouse, or your friend, or a friend, or anybody, you're not going to say, oh, what they said made me so angry, they shouldn't have said it. No, I am so angry, I've been triggered, I'm going to look into it. I hope you get that is very, very different. So I stop. I take 3 very deep conscious breaths. So if I can remove myself from the situation, I do. But if I can't, then I just literally breathe in, hold my breath, and breathe out as far as I can go. It's that breathing out as far as you can go that literally shifts your mood completely. And then I say to myself, I'm feeling... and then I give it a name. So I say, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling irritated, I'm feeling this. And then I say to myself, what is in my control and what is not in my control. If it's something that is in my control, then I can do something about it. But if it isn't, I literally choose to let it go. He said that to me like that. It really hurt me. There's something in this for me, so I'm going to look into that. Can't do anything about it now, so in this moment, I'm going to let it go. When you tend to self and you shift your mood and you calm down, then you just deal with things from a very adult, mature point of view. When you speak, your children listen. When you have an issue, your spouse listens, because actually you are clear, calm, and collected. And it's not a fake clear, calm, and connected. It's a truly, truly connected. So, your triggers is not about anybody but you. That's what I want to remind you of. And today's activity is about really starting to apply this process. I want you to carry on doing that meditation, and I'm going to also give you a tapping activity to do. I'll do that tomorrow because we're already doing this today. So if you've got any questions, all you're doing today is you're working with your triggers. So you're noticing when you're triggered, you're going to stop, not blame the person, breathe, shift. Stop, not blame the person, breathe, shift. Remember, you don't actually need to understand why they're doing something, because it's not in your control. But what you can do is you can say, that's not in my control, and I'm going to focus on me. It's not condoning. And also, you know, the funniest thing is if you let it go, it's to set you free. For some reason, we think that holding on to something and being angry with somebody else because they've triggered us actually serves a purpose, when it serves nothing whatsoever. I know this has been a really long video, and I feel like I've waffled a little bit. But anyway, if you have any questions, please just let me know. And I need you to send me another voice note, which is a lot easier than actually having to type it out. Do what I've done. Just put the voice notes on and do a reflection of your day. Speak to me and I'll listen. Just say, when this happened, this is what I did, and this is how I shifted it, and this is how it made me feel. When this happened, this is what I did, this is how I shifted it, and this is what made me feel. And then I want you to tell me what you're starting to notice about your triggers. Remember, this is about mastery of self. So when you can do this and master it, it becomes so much easier to teach. So I hope that made sense. I know that was a lot. If you don't understand, please, you need to know that one or two of you, if you do, you reach out, and then I do help you as soon as I can. Sometimes it's not immediately. And if I don't hear from you, I'm presuming you're totally fine. I'm not going to keep bugging you and begging you to like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm presuming you're fine, and you know I'm there if you need me. Have an amazing day. Send me a voice note tonight, and let's see if we can shift our triggers. Notice them and shift them. Sending you lots of love.